What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday, happy Friday, happy Friday. It's your girl, Siobhan. I am here to chat with y'all. So for those of you who may not know, my name is Siobhan. I am a missionary at Overcoming Church of God in Christ. My pastor is Superintendent Carlton S. Childs, and we are based in Largo, Florida. And I am the president of our singles ministry. And I know it's been a while since I've been live, but been doing the work of the Lord. But I am here on tonight because normally the last Friday of the month, not the fourth Friday, the last Friday of the month, I'm at the church, but we are having service during that time. So I had to switch my day. And I decided to just go live. So that's what I'm doing. So we're going to talk. Let's talk, y'all. We're going to talk tonight about communication. How we communicate with one another, whether it's in a relationship or a friendship or with people that you come across, when you're out and about, how whoever you're communicating with. But there is always different ways that we can communicate with others, but sometimes communication can be misinterpreted. A lot of times if you texting or emailing, someone may take it differently than what you intended it to be. And I've had that happen to me before, and I've done that before. Someone had maybe sent something to me and I took it one way and they didn't actually mean it the way that I took it. So let's start off. I'm going to start with, let's read Proverbs 15:1. So Proverbs 15:1 says, "A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." And y'all know, if y'all have met me or listened to any of my discussions, I love reading commentary. I feel like it gives a better understanding of the Word of God. But the commentary for 15:1 says, "Have you ever tried to," and this to me it was kind of funny the way it said it, but have you ever tried to argue in a whisper? It is equally hard to argue with someone who insists on answering gently. On the other hand, a rising voice and harsh words almost always trigger an angry response. To turn away wrath and seek peace, choose gentle words. Now we know that can be hard sometimes. We all human, and a lot of times somebody says something or you receive a text and you hear it one way when someone says something, or you read it one way when someone texts something, and your immediate response is to, well, you said you meant it this way or whatever, or your immediate vocal response when someone says something to you is to just go back at them. But a lot of times it takes us to stop, listen, receive what they said, and know what their intention is. And we have to do that whether it's in conversations, face to face, or even if it's via text or email. We have to learn to just stop. If it's email, read it and know the person's intentions. Now, some people they intend what they intend. They intended it to be the way that they said it. And that's just how some people are. But we have to learn how to communicate clearly to people. And if you look at, even if you're in a relationship, no, we're not mind readers. Your boyfriend, husband, whoever you're courting, whatever, they're not a mind reader. And neither are you. You're not a mind reader. So there has to be clear communication of, when I said this is what I meant. When I said that, that's what I meant. I didn't mean it to come across this way. And we can't be so, well, I'm not going to admit when I'm wrong, or I'm not going to admit that I said that the wrong way. We can't be like that. We're adults. We have to learn to be able to communicate or admit, yeah, I said that the wrong way. I should have said that in a better way. Or I should have texted that in a better way. I should have communicated that clearer than I did. So we have to be able to do that and not be like, well, I'm just going to be right. I said what I said and I don't care if I'm wrong. No, we're too grown for that. We're adults. That's childlike behavior. So you have to be able to admit when you've said something in the incorrect manner and learn how to communicate that clearly. Even when you're sitting in conversations, you have to be able to say, okay, well, if this person is coming at me in a bad way, let's stop. Let's pause that conversation. Let's start over. And they should be able to do that if they're an adult. But some people can't. Some people they just want to go in. They just want to be angry. Sorry, they just want to go in. And sometimes you can kind of diffuse that. And if you feel that you can, and if you feel like you're getting agitated, it's best to walk away. It's best to walk away. And then come back to that conversation. Come back to that person. And you can try to talk to them again when each party has calmed down and y'all can communicate better. Because communication can ruin a relationship, whether it's a friendship or a courtship, whatever it is. If something goes wrong within that communication, it can ruin that. There have been many times where, because I always say first impressions are everything. And if somebody says something to me crazy, okay, I could, I give you, okay, maybe you was having a bad day or whatever the case may be, but I'm still going to be like, okay, let me be mindful of what I say to you, like how I approach you. I'm not going to approach you in the same manner. I'm not going to deal with you in the same way. That's just me. That's me. Because like I said, first impressions are everything. And I try to be mindful of when I'm meeting someone for the first time or I'm actually speaking to someone for the first time, how I come across to them. Now, I'm still myself, but I don't want to come off to them in the wrong way because communication is everything. And we have to clearly communicate with one another. And, I've had situations where, and even at work, where I've sent an email and somebody took it completely left, like completely left. My intention was one thing and they read it and was just like, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. She meant this and she meant, no, that's not what I meant. That's not how I said it. And we can't, it's so hard to not take something written the way your mind like picks it up. But we can't really determine like how someone felt via text or email because we didn't talk to them. I mean, unless they texting you or emailing you in all caps and yelling at you and being nasty, that's the only way you can really tell what their intention is. But we can't really tell someone's heart or their intention based on what they type. But I know it's hard for us as human beings to be like, they didn't mean it that way, but we reading it and we looking at it and we like, did they really not mean it that way? I don't know. It's kind of hard sometimes. But, I'm the type of person that if I know your heart and I see something and I'm like, I don't think they really meant it that way. I said, let me, even much as I hate talking on the phone, y'all, if you know me, you know, I hate talking on the phone. I'm a texter. But if I feel like there's an issue, I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm like, hey, what's going on? I got this text or email or whatever. Let's talk about it. If I know your heart and I know that's not your intention. Now, if I don't give 2 peanut butter M&Ms about you, okay, I'm just like, oh, okay, and I'm gonna pray for you, and I'm gonna keep it moving. That's just me. I don't like to give time to unnecessary stuff, and I don't like to give time to foolishness. That's just me. Another thing, I'm also, like, a lot of people don't know about me, I hate repeating myself. Unless I'm teaching, something or explaining like how something works that I know you need to know, cool. But other than that, I hate repeating myself. If I feel like if I've made an announcement 90 million times and then you come along and ask me the same question, yeah, I'm gonna get a little aggravated. Because that's just me. I'm praying about the Lord working on me, but we all have our little quirks. We all have our little things that we just like, that's just how we operate. If I've already, like, if I give you something and all the detail, because I'm a very detailed person, and some people, like, even at my job, they like, Siobhan, you be writing a novel just to explain something. I want to make sure you understand. Now, if I wrote it on there and I'll give you all the details, and you come back to me and ask me the same thing that's written in front of you, and it's clearly in front of you, yeah, I'm gonna be like, it's on the paper that I gave you. It's on there. Like, that's just me. But like I said, I'm a communicator. I like to communicate. But if you asking me something that I've already communicated to you, yeah, I'm gonna be looking at you a little crazy. And maybe I'm wrong, but that is how I operate. And we all have different ways that we operate and function. Things that kind of bug us, and things that we just like, whatever. Cool, but that's just how it is. It's just all about communicating those things, because not everybody knows you. Not everybody knows how you operate. Not everybody knows your likes and dislikes, and what gets on your nerves and what doesn't. Not everybody knows, because not everybody knows you. And not everybody has spoken to you to get to know you. So we have to understand that as well. So the next scripture, so we're going to go to James 1:19. So let's go to James 1:19, and that says, my dear brothers, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Do we do that? Not all the time. We don't. And I mean, some of y'all might. I don't know. Some of y'all might, but I'm just going to be truthful. Sometimes I'll be like, God, what did you just say? I'm working on it. God he is working on me. He's working on the missionary, y'all. He is working on me. So I'm gonna read the commentary for James 1:19. So the commentary for this says, well, and I love this. I love this. It says, because I've run into this a lot. It says, when we talk too much and listen too little, we communicate to others that we think our ideas are much more important than theirs. James wisely advises us to reverse this process. Put a mental stopwatch on your conversations and keep track of how much you talk and how much you listen. When people talk with you, do they feel like their viewpoints and ideas have value? That is such an important thing to think about. And I'm going to read this. This is 1:19 and 20. This says, these verses speak These verses speak of anger that erupts when our egos are bruised. I am hurt. My opinions are not being heard. When injustice and sin occur, we should become angry because others are being hurt. But we should not become angry when we fail to win an argument or when we feel offended or neglected. Selfish anger never helps anybody. So let's talk about this first part, 1 and 19. It says, when we talk too much and listen too little, we communicate to others that we think our ideas are much more important than theirs. I can't tell you how many times I have run into people who love to hear themselves talk. And some of them I love. My brothers, my sisters, I love them. But me, I'm the type of person, I will sit back and listen until I get to know you. Then because people be like, you so standoffish. No, I'm not. I'm not at all. I just like to learn you and listen and just to see the type of person you are. And I pick up on things a lot of times because I'm listening. But there are a lot of people who just talk and 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 don't stop. And I'm like, breathe, take a breath, breathe. In my head, now I don't be rude and say it to them, but in my head, I'm like, breathe, inhale, exhale, breathe, stop, take a breath, stop talking. And it's like, even when I'm having conversations with them, it's a blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, okay, fine. Oh, all right, you win. So, but it's, you know, and sometimes some people don't realize that that's what they're doing because they're so used to doing it. But communication is everything. When I talk to you, I want to feel like you're listening to what I'm saying. And also, I want to feel like you're not just listening to respond. And there are some that just listen to respond. And when I say that, if I'm talking to you, I could be talking to you about a grievance I had. Or we could just be having a conversation. Maybe something happened and we just having a conversation. And I'm talking to you and you just, blah, blah, just responding. And I'm like, okay, but... And you just like, just you still talking, like you still either talking over me or you just talking to be talking. That means you're not listening. You're not listening. So we have to be mindful of that. Or if I'm speaking to you and you talking down to me, that for me that's one of my biggest pet peeves. For anybody, I don't care who you are. I don't. For you to talk down to me like I'm smaller than you. Now, I'm not speaking of being taught something or being reprimanded by my leader or whatever, because my leaders don't talk down to me. They don't belittle me. They don't treat me like I'm less than. But I've had people who talk to me like I'm slow, like I'm like I don't get it. And it's just like, just because I don't say anything does not mean I don't get it. I am looking at you and listening to you like, yeah, okay. And sometimes you gotta mute it sometimes. And I know God mutes me sometimes because he knows my mouth. And I thank God for that. But we have to be mindful of how we communicate, because even in a relationship, when you in a relationship, you're the person you're courting or dating or whatever, they're not going to be, they don't want you to talk down to them. They don't want you to belittle them, and they want you to hear them. So if I'm with my boyfriend or future husband, he's not going to want to have a conversation with me and I'm talking to him like he's stupid, or I'm yelling at him or talking at him. So, and vice versa. I don't want that from him. So we should be able to have a conversation without talking down to one another, talking to each other like you're less than, or, well, my idea is better than yours, or you this and blah blah blah. We don't have to do that. When we too old. We're too old for that. We don't have to do that. It's a way to communicate without doing that. There really is. And if I say something to someone that offends them, I would hope they would come to me and say, hey, when you said blah blah blah, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. And vice versa. So we should be able to communicate how we feel and our intentions, and like I said, people, you should know the heart of the person you're dealing with, but you don't always know the heart of the person that you're dealing with. So it gets kind of muddy. It gets kind of hard when you're trying to communicate with somebody that you don't know, and you don't know their intentions, and you don't know their heart. So you just like, I don't know how to deal with that. And I've run into that before. Men and women, I've run into that before, dealing with people that I don't really know, and I'm like, I don't know how to take that. And they may not know how to take me. I've dealt with it on my job where my intention, I've said something jokingly and it was taken completely out of context and taken the wrong way. And I had to go back and be like, I didn't mean it that way. I mean, that's not who I am. I'm not a mean person. I'm not a mean-spirited person. I just like to laugh a lot. I just like to joke a lot. I like to have fun. I don't take every single day, an hour, and minute seriously. I can't. I gotta have some kind of fun. I have my serious moments, absolutely. But I like to have some kind of fun. But we have to be able to communicate clearly and not go to this person and say, well, Siobhan said this and I don't like her, and a brother such and such said this and I don't like him because he said this. Why are we going to everybody else but the person that we have the problem with? That's what we should do. Go to that person that you have an issue with and speak with them. Communication is key. Communication is everything. It is extremely important when communicating. And like this says, put a mental stopwatch on your conversations and keep track of how much you talk and how much you listen. Listen, Linda. No, listening is so important. And it's like, I always say, not everything needs a response. And I'm oh Lord, because I be one. I'm the type of person, I have to get the last word. And my mama, she be getting on me. She be like, Shemai, you always gotta have the last word. Yep. And I still got the last word by saying yep. Or if somebody say something and, they be thinking the conversation over with, God bless you, I still got the last word. And Lord, he working on me. Y'all, he working on me. I have to get the last word. But we still have to be mindful to listen. Because when someone does not feel like they're being heard, that can also agitate a situation when they don't feel like they're being heard. If I'm speaking to you and trying to communicate with you how I feel about something, and I feel like you're just not listening to me, that can agitate. If someone's already upset, that can make it even worse. Or that can just completely push them away. So it can communication, it can mess up relationships, friendships, whatever type of relationship it is, and I'm only using myself as an example because it's just me talking to y'all. But I'm the type of person, like, if I don't feel like you're really listening to me, I won't really talk to you on a deep level. Now, I'll talk to you surface. Yeah, I'll keep it surface with you. But I won't open up to you. I won't talk to you on a deep level, because to me it's pointless if I don't feel like you listening to me and you hearing me. And I always tell my friends, and you can ask any one of them, I always tell them I always have an open ear. If you just want me to sit and listen and just not say nothing, okay, I got you. And then sometimes I might be lit. Now, if you don't tell me you just want me to sit and listen, you might get some unsolicited advice. And I warn you ahead of time. Look, I'm just giving you my unsolicited advice. You didn't ask me, but I'm going to tell you. And some of my friends hate it, but they still love me. But you know, but I'm the type of person, if I don't feel like you are listening to me and it's just going in one ear and out the other, okay, because I rarely will open up to people, and you might get bits and pieces of me. You'll never get the whole Siobhan. That's just me. That's just me. And some people assume that they have the whole Siobhan, and they don't. But you know, that's just how I am. And if I don't feel like you're listening to me, I will not communicate with you on that deeper level. So we have to be mindful of how we hear people. And we got to let them know that I hear you. I'm listening. Now, you don't have to, every time you talk to them, I hear you. I'm listening to you. But be attentive. You know, if somebody's talking to you, don't just start talking about something else in the middle of what they're talking about. That's bad communication. That is horrible to do that. If I'm talking to you about one thing and it be something serious, and you just out of the blue just start talking about something else, I'm just gonna be like, oh, well, let me let you go. While I do, you know, let me let you go, and I'm gonna talk to you on another day, you know. But we just gotta be mindful. We have to be mindful of how we communicate and how we listen to one another, and put a mental stopwatch. A mental one. Because if you just, and I've had people, they just talking and talking and talk, like I call them and to talk to them, and then they just start to blah 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 blah, and I'm just sitting there. By the time they done talking, I done forgot what I called them for, and I'm like, yeah, I forgot what I had something to tell you, something to talk to you about, and I just completely forgot. So that's why we have to put a mental stopwatch, because somebody can call you with something that they just dealing with and they really need to talk to you. And if you just start talking and talking and talking and talking and talking and talking and don't stop, they're not going to be able to talk to you to deal with their situation. Yes, they can go to God, they can pray, but they may have needed you at that time. You may have been the only person that they felt that they could reach out to at the time. Because when we go through things, sometimes we get in self, and we don't always think about, I need to pray. I need to go to the Lord. And we should. I'm not saying that we shouldn't. But as human beings, we don't always do that. We don't. And maybe it's some people that do. I'm not speaking for everybody. But I might call Nancy, Joe, Sally, whoever, and just need to talk to them. You know what I'm saying? The person that calls you might be on the ledge, ready to jump off, and they need to talk to you just to kind of get them to not jump. But then you start going on a rant about something else. Don't even give them time to talk to you. You didn't put that mental stopwatch on how much you talking, so you can stop and listen. And not saying that it's all you, because people are responsible for themselves. But your ear could have been something that helped them. Just a thought. Just a thought. All right, so let's go on to Ephesians 4:15. So Ephesians 4:15 says, instead, speaking the truth in love, we will in all things grow up into him who is the head, that is Christ. So this one, the commentary says, in describing the mature Christian, Paul says that one of the marks is speaking the truth in love. This sounds so simple, but it seems so hard for us to do. Some of us are fairly good at speaking the truth, but we forget to be loving. Some of us are good at being loving, but we don't have it in us to level with others if the truth is painful. The instructions here is to do both. Speak the truth and do it in a loving manner. Think of the trouble we would spare on ourselves if we followed this practice, especially in the church. Oh, Jesus. Especially in the church. When you have a problem with another believer, don't, and I was just saying this, don't go to someone else with it. Stop it. Go directly to that person and speak the truth in love. Some Christians, and this is 4:15 and 16. This says some Christians fear that any mistake will destroy their witness for the Lord. They see their own weaknesses, and they know that many non-Christians seem to have stronger character than they do. How can we grow up into Christ? The answer is that Christ forms us into a body, into a group of individuals who are united in their purpose and in their love for one another and for the Lord. If an individual stumbles, the rest of the group is there to pick him or her up and help him or her walk with God again. If an individual sins, he or she can find restoration through the church, even as the rest of the body continues to witness to God's truth. As a part of Christ's body, do you reflect part of Christ's character and carry out your special role in his work? Well, let's talk about that. So this says speaking the truth in love, y'all. Speaking the truth in love. Speaking the truth in love. Some people can't do it. And I'm just going to be real about that. Some people cannot do it. I'm only saying that because I've seen it. I'm only saying it because I have seen it. We can be, and I don't like anybody to candy coat. Don't candy coat nothing with me. Don't bite your tongue with me, because I'm not going to bite my tongue with you. Be real with me, because I'm going to be real with you. But it's a way to say things. It's a way to handle situations. And we as adults have to be mindful of that. You are not scolding a 2-year-old. Stop it. Stop it, I say. You are not scolding a 2-year-old when you speak to them. It's a way to speak to people when you are trying to give them the hard truth about something. Whether it's how they handled something or how they handled you. Or how they're doing something that may be a little out of order. You know, you might see it and you might want to address it. You know, kind of give them a little, hey, let me give you a little heads up. You might want to kind of fix that, because that's not how that's done. That's not how that is done. But it's a way to do it. Like, you don't want to go to your brother or your sister and be like, look here, you should be doing this and you should be doing that and blah, 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 blah. No. Because then if it's me, I'm going to be looking at you like, who is you talking to? I'm not going to receive nothing that you're saying. because of the way it's coming out your mouth. And no, I'm not asking for you to be like, darling, you should do this. No, I'm not asking for that. But don't talk to me crazy. Don't talk to me like I'm 2'5", because I'm a little older than that. But we just want to be mindful, and we want to speak the truth in love, not in a condescending manner, not in a, I'm smarter than you, so listen to me type deal. And then we also, even if we are loving, we don't want to hide the truth. We don't want to be like, I see you doing this, or I see you said, in our mind saying, I see they said this, and that wasn't right, but not gonna really, you doing a good job, knowing that's not it. Knowing, they shouldn't be speaking to whoever the way they're speaking to them, or dealing with whoever the way they're dealing with them. And you're witnessing it, and you're not saying anything because you're afraid, of maybe the backlash, or you're afraid maybe they don't want to talk to you anymore, or whatever the case may be. But we have to be truthful in a loving manner. And like I said, for me, chicken wing. Sorry, y'all. Y'all give me 2 seconds. That, y'all. All right. All right, sorry about that, y'all. Had a business text. But anywho, so we have to be mindful of how we respond to people, how we talk to people, how we deal with people, and we got to be truthful. But it's a way to be truthful in a loving manner. There is. I've had so many times where people just talking to me like I'm 2, and I'm looking at them crazy like, why are you talking to me like that? Like, and they wonder why I'm looking at them crazy. And it's just like, because you talking to me like I'm your child, like I'm 2. And I'm like, okay. Like, at that point, I've stopped listening to you. Like, I've tuned you out. I'm not hearing anything you're saying because of your tone and the way you're speaking to me. And I've had this conversation with people before. And we've gone back and talked about stuff, and and they understood. So, it's all about going back and having that conversation again and being like, hey, I didn't really receive anything you were telling me because of the way you were telling me. And then some people, you just don't go back because it's just, maybe they just not, and I hate to say it, it just wasn't that deep, or they just weren't that important. Unfortunately, for you to allow them to take up that mind, that space in your mind to even go back to them and have that conversation. You was just like, whatever. And you kept it moving, I've been in that situation too, and it's unfortunate. And then some things you just like, okay, it's not that deep. It is what it is, not that deep. And you just keep it moving. You keep it going. But communication is everything, and it's so important. Because in ministry, we have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to speak to people. You have to be able to deal with people. And you're going to deal with people that you don't know. And you don't want to come off in a bad manner and say something crazy to them. And then they're just like, sorry, y'all. Okay, I'll deal with that later. And sorry, y'all. And you don't want to come off to them in a crazy manner. And they're just like, okay, well, I'm never going to talk to that person again, or I'm never going to come back to that church again. And that's even with me. I'm an usher at my church. Me being an usher, I have to be polite to people that come in, that come in the doors of the church, because the usher is the first face you see, typically. I mean, you might see somebody else when we're not at our post, but the usher should be the first person that greets you at the door. And if I'm rude to you, or I don't know how to communicate properly with you, and I'm like, good morning, welcome to Overcoming, you're going to be looking like, ew, I don't want to go back there. Like, what was wrong with her? That's bad communication. Or if I'm trying to direct you to your seat, and I'm just like, go sit over there, you're going to be like, what? That sounds crazy. So it's all about how we communicate with people in ministry, in friendships, in relationships, whatever it is. It's all about how you communicate. And communicating via text, and when it's not verbal, it is so difficult sometimes. And I'm a texter. I hate being on the phone. Like I said, I'm a texter. So I try to be as clear as possible, but sometimes that's not always the case. Some people may take something completely different than what I intended it to be. And I have to be like, this is what I meant. Didn't really mean it that way. Or I might take something they said completely the opposite of what they meant it. And then here we are butting heads because neither one of us know what's going on, because we haven't spoken to each other. We're just reading what each other is saying, and it's not coming across clear. And that's bad communication. That's horrible communication. So it's just about being clear in your intentions, and especially when you texting. And I know a lot of people say, like, if they're in relationships, they don't like to text, they like to talk. I'm still probably gonna text you. I hate being on the phone, but I'm trying to get better with that. But it's so hard to get your heart across via text or via email, or your intention across via text or via email. You assume that the person knows your heart and knows your intention, but not everybody does. And we have to be mindful of that. So with that being said, just speak clearly, listen carefully, and speak truthfully in love. And if you could do all those things, then you're good. You are good. So just practice those things. Stop and listen. You don't always have to talk. Stop and listen. And that will take a friendship or relationship a long way. You can just stop and listen sometimes, because sometimes that's all that's needed. Stop and listen. And then that way you know what's going on. You've heard what's been said. And then you can take a moment and respond. And even if it's a heated conversation, stop. Stop. Take a breath. And then think about it and then respond. And I'm not saying calculate your response, but sometimes stopping, taking a breath, that gives you a minute to calm down and actually give a response versus just saying the first thing that comes to your mind, which 9 times out of 10 is not the best response. So, but that's all I have for y'all. Y'all have a beautiful weekend. We have our men's prayer breakfast in the morning at Ross Norton, 10 a.m. So if you are in the area, come on out. Tickets are $10. Get your ticket. You can contact Pastor Carlton S. Childs, or if you know one of the men that attend Overcoming, you can contact one of them and get a ticket. I believe you can also buy a ticket there. I think, don't quote me on that. But I mean, I doubt they're going to turn away them $10 if you come to the door. So, but come on out. Ross Norton Recreational Center in Clearwater. That's where we'll be at 10 a.m. in the morning. Singles Ministry. The Walk and Talk with Singles Ministry. I gotta look. I know it's one Saturday, either this month or next month, that I had to cancel. I'll have to look and see. But we will get that going again. It hasn't ended, just been having stuff going on every time that comes around. I might even have to switch, alternate the Saturday just for, whatever particular month. But I will also post this on our YouTube page. Please make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube page. I'm trying to build our subscribers so that way I can go live on YouTube, because you got to have a certain amount of likes or subscribers in order to be able to go live on YouTube. So, but yeah. That's all I have. If you would like to be a part of the singles ministry, come on. You do not have to be a member of Overcoming in order to be a part of our singles ministry. You do have to be single. You do. Just saying. And if you struggling with something, you might be thoughting and plotting. Like I always say, you can't be thoughting and plotting, but if you're thoughting and plotting and you're trying to work your way out of that, come on. Come on and talk to us. Come on and work with us. So we are open for everybody. But you got to be single. Got to be single. But all right, y'all. Have a wonderful weekend. Y'all be blessed. Bye, y'all.